I backwashed my swimming pool filter and that came out, which looks like a pile of
Pool
sand.
filter sand.
What is happening?
So when you backwash and that happens, you clearly have something wrong on the internals. You have either a crack in your main tube, you likely a piece has come apart. There's typically a top cone piece that slides down, and if you're backwashing, what happens in a backwash is, let's explain the inside of a filter real quick. There's generally a center collecting tube that goes down the middle, and at the bottom there's fingers, there's things that stick out. We're talking sand filters specifically. There's like fingers, tentacles that stick all the way around the bottom, and they have little slits in them. And when you're running your pump, the bed of sand is on top of that. The water comes in the top, gets pushed through the sand, debris gets left in the sand, and when it gets down to those collector tubes at the bottom, those fingers, it gets forced into the fingers, back into the center collector tube, up, and then back out to the pool. Well, in a backwash situation, what you're doing is you're sending water down through that collector tube, back out of those fingers, up through the sand, and you're flushing the stuff that's on top of the sand out into the backwash and out into the yard. So if something's happening like that where you're getting sand out of the backwash, it's typically not going to be in those fingers at the bottom. It's instead something at the top of the filter. There's a crack in the exit tube, which is normally the entrance tube. There's something going on there that's allowing the sand to actually get pushed up high enough, because then it flows over and then down and out. And if that top piece isn't in right, it's likely forcing that backwashed sand into the pipe and out. So that's typically the problem. If in fact the opposite is true, that you get sand into the pool when you're filtering, when you're running it on filter and you're getting pool sand back into the pool, that's going to tell you that there's something wrong in those finger tubes in the bottom, where if one of those is cracked, you're getting sand being pushed into that, up the collector tube and back into the pool. So this tells me that there's a problem at the top of the filter. If in fact she was running the system and there was sand shooting into the pool, that would tell me that there's a problem in the bottom of the filter. So the first thing first on that would be take the top of the filter apart, whether it's a side mount or top mount. It's just going to be there's a little bit different thing that has to happen, and then do some visual on those. The other thing is, there's one other potential problem here as well, is there could be too much sand in the filter. If this filter is overfilled, and a filter is usually 60 to 70% full, and then there's solid water above that. But if someone fills that sand filter all the way up, when that water comes rushing up and pushing up through the top, it could easily push sand over and into that top collector tube and out as well.